Welcome back to the Power of PD. My name is Erica Harrell, and this week I'm talking all about creating a positive environment in your professional development sessions, programs, packages, series, all the things you do when leading adults to learn. So this episode is, I don't want to say it's only for the educators who've ever said this before, but it just makes me think about all the educators, myself included, who have ever said something like, not in this classroom. Like, you are not going to do that in this classroom. Or, oh no, not in this school. This is not happening in this school. That's the type of energy I want you to bring to your PD sessions. You are the leader. You are the facilitator. You own the space, including the environment, how positive or not positive it is. That all is on you as the facilitators. Now, are you the only person that contributes to it? Absolutely not. And if something were to not go super well, yes, there is a point where you should reflect and see how you could have changed that, made that better. And even if it goes really well, you should reflect and see, like, what is it that you did? But you also have to understand that similar to a school full of children or a classroom full of children, all those different personalities do impact the culture, the environment, the climate of this space. And so take all that into consideration. But I want to give you a few tips, a few ways to think about creating a really high quality, positive, safe environment, welcoming for your participants and for you as well. Okay, first and foremost, you have to start with your mindset. You have to have a positive mindset around the environment that you are creating. It all starts with the way in which you're thinking. If you are thinking and anxious, like thinking negative things, or anxious about going into that session, or worried about how folks will receive your information or receive you, that's going to show. People are going to be able to feel it, and it might just make for not such great environment. So go in thinking positively, thinking about the positive things in which you will be presenting and how the PD is going to go. That will be a solid foundation to then doing other more tactical things in order to create a strong environment. Okay, so second to your mindset is the way in which you show up. You have to model the positive environment you want. So if you want people to be happy and having fun, you have to be happy and having fun. If you want your participants to be smiling, if you want them to be encouraging each other, if you want them to be really thoughtful and engaged and going deep in the content, you need to be ready to bring all of those things. So list out what you want from folks and be ready to model those yourself as the facilitator, as you're leading, standing up front of the room, like doing those things, but then also as you're interacting one-on-one or in small groups with your participants. All right, the next way to set a strong, positive environment through PD is with norms. So I've always used my school that I used to work at. We always use the 4 norms borrowed from Courageous Conversations About Race, that book. And those norms are stay engaged, accept and expect non-closure, experience discomfort, and speak your truth. And so those are a good starting point to norms, but you can also make norms specific to your PD. The key about norms is that you share them, of course. You maybe give people time to internalize them, to think about them for themselves and what that means for them and how they'll show up. But then you've got to enforce the norms throughout your PD. So, for example, if speak your truth is one of the norms you decide, and you notice that a participant is hesitant to share, you might encourage them and remind them, one of our norms is to speak your truth. That's all we ask here. Share openly so that we all can learn from you. Your truth may be similar to someone else's truth, so giving them some ways to not feel nervous about speaking their truth, but you want to enforce and encourage the norms that you set. If no cell phones, only during emergencies, or like stay engaged, stay on task is a norm, then you've got to be ready and willing to have a conversation with someone. If they don't use one of those norms, you could simply ask them, hey, we're working to not have cell phones in this space so that we can respect each other's time and not influence the environment in a way that would cause others to, go off task. And so if you do have an emergency or even just need to check your phone, feel free to step out and then come back when you're ready to adhere to that norm. We want you in here fully engaged to be in the learning. So you can totally have those conversations, but you should feel comfortable enforcing your norms so that the environment that you choose, that you want to develop, does actually come to reality during your session. Okay, another way to create a positive environment is around celebration of questions and mistakes. Oftentimes, folks are nervous to ask questions and nervous to make mistakes, and so the true learning doesn't happen because they don't get anything that might be confusing them, or they're not totally clear about answered because they don't ask the question, or they don't try, and so then they don't make a mistake that they would realize they could fix. And I understand that we oftentimes say there are no mistakes. And sometimes we say that because we mean that if you make a mistake, you learn from it. So it truly wasn't a mistake. It was powerful in that it impacted your learning. But for the sake of this, let's just say we're calling them mistakes. When someone does do something that they learn from, that they switch up and grow from after, aka a mistake, celebrate that, like shout them out, pull that out and say, this is a great moment for us to realize we've got to take action. We've got to practice. We've got to plan and do all this work in order to learn. So super, super happy about it. Like say those things in your professional development so that people realize, oh, this is a place where I can do the work, where I won't be judged negatively in order to learn and grow. And then the questions, thanking people for asking questions, encouraging questions will create this environment of it's okay to be able to be curious and need some more information. That's actually encouraged here. So please feel free to ask. Okay, next up is have fun and bring the fun. No one wants to sit in a boring PD. And if your PD is boring, the environment is just going to be not great. It's going to be dry. It's going to be just not exciting. So have fun during your PD. You can do things like play music at the beginning and during breaks and at the end. You can incorporate GIFs or GIFs, however you want to say that, into your slide deck that maybe are a little bit humorous. You can use your own humor during professional development. Obviously, there's a fine line there. So you want it to be authentic and you want it to be appropriate and all of that. But humor is a great way to create a light, fun environment. Not one that means you don't get work done or you're not serious about the work, but one that means you enjoy the work and you want others to enjoy the work as well. Feel free, I said to use humor, but you can use tell a joke, plan a joke into your session where it makes sense and where it might help the conversation move forward, help the learning move forward. Feel free to use jokes. And then another way to bring in the fun is to connect your PD to their lives. So if you know your learners, you can connect it directly to their lives. But even if you don't know those specific people, the hope is that you know your learners pretty intimately based off of who they are. If they are fourth grade math teachers, you know that a fourth grade math teacher may have experienced at one point a fourth grader doing something that was typical of a fourth grader and maybe a little funny or, thinking something about the content that could be a joke. So feel free to connect to their lives, the lives of their students in a positive and fun way also. All right, this might feel really superficial, but the last thought around bringing a positive environment, creating that for your PD, if you're in person, bring the food, the snacks. It always just helps a little bit. It's not going to get you fully there. If you have snacks and you don't have some of the other things we just talked about, your environment might still not be great, but it can help kick off on a positive note, adding on the other things that we talked about. So it doesn't have to be grand things. It could be bowls of candy in the center of the table, or, bags of chips or some, different snacks, granola bars, things like that for folks to enjoy during your professional development. But the snacks can help with a positive environment. All right, so those are just a few tips on ways to create a positive environment during your professional development. I hope that they were helpful. If you have questions, if you have other ideas, if you have wonderings, drop those in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and subscribe to the channel, like this video. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Erica Harrell Consulting so that we can connect. Feel free to DM me or tag me. And until the next video, until we connect the next time, don't forget to embrace the power of PD.